Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Have you ever stopped to think about what would happen if we just stopped using physical money altogether? Like, poof, it's gone.
It's definitely a question that makes you think, and that's exactly what Eswar Prasad dives into in his book, The Future of Money.
It's a nonfiction book, by the way, and we are going deep into it today.
One of the things I found really interesting is how Prasad goes beyond just the technology.
Oh, totally.
He really explores how these changes, like no more cash, could actually change society as we know it.
Like, whoa, right?
Yeah.
One of the first things that really struck me was how he compares Sweden, which, fun fact, had the world's very first central bank,
Oh, wow.
to China, where everyone's already paying for, like, everything with their phones.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It really gets you thinking, are we all headed for a future where we don't use cash at all?
And if so, what does that even mean?
Exactly. Like, what happens to our wallets?
Right.
But it's interesting because, Sweden, a country with such a strong connection to central banking, might be one of the first to completely ditch physical money.
It's kind of ironic when you think about it.
It is.
Like the birthplace of central banking going cashless.
And then you have China where, Prasad even tells the story of the book about how he felt so out of place trying to use cash there.
He's an economics expert.
Right. Like, if he feels weird using cash there, what does that say about the rest of us?
It makes you wonder about the future of central banks, actually.
Oh, how so?
Well, they've always controlled the money supply, right, for centuries.
Yeah.
But in this new world of digital transactions and like everyone using private payment platforms, their power could really shrink.
That's a really good point. It's like their whole reason for being is kind of disappearing.
Exactly.
And that's where things get even more interesting.
Okay, tell me more.
Because all this is happening right as cryptocurrencies are, like, exploding in popularity.
It's the perfect storm.
Right. You have Bitcoin, the OG cryptocurrency.
The original gaster.
Haha. Yeah, exactly. It came out in 2009.
I remember when it first came out, it was like, what is this?
Right. And it really caught on because it promised to, like, completely bypass all those traditional financial institutions.
Cut out the middleman.
Exactly. People love that idea, especially after, what happened with the financial crisis in 2008.
Oh, yeah, people were definitely looking for alternatives.
And Bitcoin seemed like this, like, revolutionary answer.
A way to, like, take control of your own finances, outside the system.
Right. But the book also points out that Bitcoin's had its fair share of problems along the way.
What kinds of problems?
Well, for one, its price has been like a roller coaster.
Yeah, super volatile.
And transactions can be really slow. Like, sometimes it takes forever to process.
Not ideal.
And then there's the whole issue of all the energy it takes to mine Bitcoin.
It's a huge environmental concern.
Exactly.
And because of all that, central banks are now looking into their own digital currencies.
CBDC.
Yeah, CBDCs. It's like they're trying to adapt and stay relevant in this new digital world.
It's kind of like they're saying, hey, we can do digital too.
Exactly.
And China's really out in front with this.
They have the ECNY.
Right. And part of it is because they need to keep up with Alipay and WeChat Pay.
Which are already huge in China.
Exactly. It's like they've got to stay competitive.
It's like a whole new kind of arms race.
A digital currency arms race.
But what's interesting is that these CBDCs, they have some real potential benefits, like helping people who don't have access to banks, increasing financial inclusion.
Exactly. And because everything's digital, it can make it harder for people to do illegal stuff.
Oh, because it's easier to track?
Yeah, like money laundering and stuff.
That makes sense.
And they could even give central banks new tools to, like, control the economy.
So new monetary policy tools.
Yeah. But we can't forget about the potential downsides.
Like what?
Well, what about privacy? Like, imagine if the government could track every single purchase you made.
That's a little creepy.
Right. And then there's the question of whether governments might have too much control over people's money.
It's a double-edged sword.
It is. And speaking of shaking things up in the financial world.
Oh, you mean fintech?
Yeah, fintech. The book also talks about all these new innovations like peer-to-peer lending platforms.
Like Lending Club and Prosper.
Yeah, and crowdfunding sites like Kickstarter.
Microinsurance.
Especially in China, that's really taking off.
It's crazy how technology is changing even the most basic parts of finance.
I know. It's like a whole new world out there.
Definitely. It's kind of crazy to think about how all of this, like the move to digital money, is even putting pressure on banks.
Yeah, like actual banks, the ones we've always known.
Yeah, those guys, they're feeling the heat.
Well, the book talks about how technology is making it easier for, like, anyone who's not a bank to handle stuff that banks used to do.
Like lending money, making payments, even exchanging currencies.
Exactly. It's like banks aren't the only game in town anymore.
Right. Think about those platforms like Lending Club and Prosper.
Yeah, where people just lend money to each other.
Directly, no bank involved at all.
And it's not just individuals either. The book even talks about, like, big companies issuing their own currencies.
Now that's a wild thought.
Right, like imagine paying for your groceries with Amazon coins.
Or buying a new TV with like Apple Cash.
It's like, who needs a bank when you have that?
And that brings up a really interesting point about trust.
Oh, how so?
Well, we've always trusted banks and governments to back our money, right?
Yeah, that's kind of how it works.
But with these decentralized systems, it's different.
In what way?
The trust is spread out across a whole network.
Okay,
It's based on cryptography and like everyone agreeing on the rules.
so it's not about trusting one big institution.
Exactly. It's a totally different way of thinking about money.
That's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
It is, and the book dives into some really cool innovations in the space.
Okay, like what?
Well, have you heard of flash loans?
Flash loans? No, what are those?
Imagine you need like $1 million, but only for a few seconds
Okay,
to do a trade or something, and then you instantly pay it back.
that sounds risky.
It is, but that's basically what a flash loan lets you do.
Whoa,
These loans are handled by smart contracts on an blockchain.
which is like a digital ledger.
Yeah, and it shows how fast and efficient things can be with decentralized finance.
It sounds kind of magical, like poof, $1 million,
Haha, yeah, kinda.
but also a bit terrifying.
Well, yeah, there are risks.
Like, what if something goes wrong? Who's there to fix it?
That's one of the things to consider with these systems.
There's no safety net.
Right, because there's no central authority calling the shots.
So it's like the financial Wild West.
Well, not completely. Regulators are definitely trying to catch up.
I bet they are. This stuff moves so fast.
It's a challenge for sure.
So how are they trying to, like, keep up without stifling innovation?
The book mentions something called regulatory sandboxes.
Regulatory sandboxes.
Think of it like a safe space for financial experiments.
Okay.
Startups can test their products and services under the supervision of regulators.
So they can see if things work without, like, breaking the whole system.
Exactly. It's a way to encourage innovation, but also manage the risks.
Sounds like a pretty smart approach.
It is, but we still need to see how effective these sandboxes will actually be.
Yeah, it's like a work in progress.
Definitely.
So with all these changes happening, like the decline of cash, cryptocurrencies, fintech, even central banks getting in on the digital currency game, what does the future hold for, like, money itself?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. Will the U.S. dollar stay on top?
Well, the book points out that its dominance is definitely being challenged,
Which makes sense. There's so much happening.
but it also says that this dominance comes from trust in U.S. institutions
Okay.
and the stability of the U.S. political system.
Not just how big their economy is.
Right. It's about more than just money.
But China's really trying hard to make the renminbi be more international.
Yeah, and their early lead with the digital yuan could give them a big advantage.
It's like they're playing the long game.
They are. They're not just developing their own digital currency. They're building a whole new financial infrastructure.
Like their own international payment system.
Exactly. So they're not reliant on the U.S. system.
So are we headed towards a world with, like, multiple reserve currencies? Like financial multipolarity?
It's definitely a possibility. The future of, like, the whole international monetary system is kind of up in the air right now.
Makes sense with everything that's going on.
But it's likely going to be more fragmented than what we're used to.
Like less dominance from one single currency.
Right. And the book even talks about this idea of a synthetic hegemonic currency.
Okay, I have no idea what that means.
Think of it like a global digital currency, like
Okay.
the digital dollar, but no single country controls it.
Interesting.
It would be backed by a bunch of major currencies like the dollar, euro, and yuan.
So it's like a mix of everything.
Yeah, it's a pretty radical idea, but it shows the kind of out-of-the-box thinking we need right now.
It's like we're reimagining money from scratch.
It is, and as technology keeps changing, the possibilities are endless.
And that's both exciting and a little scary, don't you think?
Totally. There's huge potential for good, but also who knows what could happen.
Unintended consequences, right?
Exactly, and that's why these conversations are so important.
Yeah, we need to think critically about all of this.
And be ready for anything.
One thing that really struck me in the book was the impact all of this could have on privacy.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
Like, if we stop using physical money and everything's digital, it's way easier to track everything we do.
It's true. The book talks about this trade-off between efficiency and privacy.
Like, digital makes things faster and cheaper, but it also leaves a trail.
A trail that anyone could follow.
That's a tough one.
It is, and it's something we as a society need to figure out.
The book also talks about how all this could affect, like, criminal activity.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting angle.
So is it good or bad?
Well, it's kind of both.
Explain.
On the one hand, the digital trail makes it harder to hide illegal stuff.
Like money laundering and tax evasion.
Exactly. But on the other hand, new tech also opens up new ways to commit crimes.
Like hacking and stealing crypto.
It's like a constant battle between good and bad.
Even things that seem harmless, like crowdfunding, could have a dark side.
That's right. The book mentions how some platforms have been used to fund shady stuff.
Yikes.
It's a good reminder that technology can be used for anything.
It's a tool.
A powerful one.
It seems like every new development in finance comes with a whole new set of risks.
That's innovation for you.
So how do we balance, like, pushing forward with staying safe?
Tough question. There's no easy answer.
The book at least gives us a way to think about these issues.
And encourages us to talk about the potential risks and benefits of everything new.
So it's about being informed and having those tough conversations.
Right, because we can't just wait for problems to happen and then try to fix them.
We need to be proactive, think ahead.
And put safeguards in place from the start.
It feels like we're just scratching the surface of this whole thing.
We are. This is a really complex and rapidly changing landscape.
So what's the most important thing for listeners to take away from all of this?
I think the biggest takeaway is that the future of money isn't set in stone.
Like, it's not already decided.
Right. It's being shaped right now by all of us.
Our choices matter.
Exactly. And technology is moving so fast, everything is changing all the time.
So we need to stay informed, have these conversations, and be ready to adapt.
If we want to create a future where money actually benefits humanity.
It feels like we've only just scratched the surface of this topic.
Yeah, it's pretty deep.
The future of money is, like, so complex.
It really is. And I think the book does a good job of, like, showing us the big picture.
Definitely.
You know, we've talked about technology and risks.
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing the book highlights is, like, the human side of all this.
Yeah, the human element.
Exactly. Like, how will these changes affect people and, society as a whole?
That's a good one, and the book talks a lot about financial inclusion.
Oh, yeah. That's crucial.
Like, there are billions of people who don't even have a bank account.
It's a huge problem.
But things like mobile money and digital currency, those could really change things.
Imagine anyone with a phone could have a bank account.
Send money, receive money.
Even get loans.
That could be revolutionary, especially in developing countries.
That's what gets me excited, that potential to really make a difference.
It's mind-blowing when you think about it.
It is. And the book even talks about how digital currencies could make it easier for governments to, like, distribute aid.
More efficiently, more transparently.
Which could have a huge impact on, fighting poverty and boosting economies.
It's a powerful idea, but I guess, like with anything, there's always a flip side.
Well, technology is a tool.
Right.
And it's up to us to use it the right way.
To create a system that's fair for everyone.
Exactly. One that benefits everyone, not just a select few.
The book also had this really interesting section on the psychology of money.
Oh, that was fascinating.
Like how what we think and believe affects how we handle money.
Our biases and perceptions.
Exactly. And there's a whole field of study dedicated to this, right?
Behavioral economics, yeah.
And they've found some interesting stuff, like how people spend more freely with credit cards.
It's true compared to cash.
It's like when you hand over physical money, you're more aware of what you're spending.
It's tangible. You feel it.
It's crazy how something as simple as how you pay can change your habits.
It really is. And the book talks about how, like, the form of money itself can influence our sense of value.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like, think about NFTs.
Those are digital collectibles, right?
Yeah, people are paying a ton of money for digital art and stuff.
And it's all digital. There's no physical object.
But it's about the perceived scarcity, the exclusivity.
It makes you wonder what money even is.
Is it just a way to exchange things? A store of value? Or is it more than that?
Shaped by our beliefs, maybe?
Well, the book argues that money is really a social construct.
Like we give it meaning.
Exactly. We decide what it's worth.
So if we're creating the future of money, what kind of future do we want?
That's a great question.
What values should be at the core of our financial systems?
Do we want a future where money empowers people, creates more equality?
Or do we end up with more inequality, a system that only benefits a few?
The book doesn't give us all the answers, but it pushes us to think about these things.
It's clear that the decisions we make today will shape our future.
Not just financially, but in every way.
Well, this has been an amazing deep dive into the future of money.
I agree. It's a fantastic book.
Everyone should definitely check it out and let us know what you think.
We love hearing from you.
What insights resonated with you? What are your hopes or fears about the future of money? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and be sure to share this episode with anyone who might be interested in this topic. Thanks for listening.